Welcome to the deep dive. When you think about complex systems, maybe an ecosystem or, I don't know, a complex machine, even our own bodies, what's crucial?
Balance, right?
Exactly. Balance. Seems simple, but if even small parts get out of sync, well, the effects can cascade big time.
Uh-huh. It ripples through everything.
So today we're doing a deep dive into two minerals, calcium and phosphorus. Seems basic, but their relationship in pigs is surprisingly complex.
It really is. An intricate dance, you could say.
Our mission, then, figure out why this balance is so critical for their health, for productivity. We'll look at the science behind, modern feeding strategies, and importantly, what happens when it all goes wrong.
Yeah, and we're drawing on quite a bit of detailed research here, veterinary insights too, so it should give a pretty comprehensive picture.
Okay, so calcium and phosphorus. First thought for most people, bones, straight away.
Absolutely. And well, that's mostly right. About 99% of the body's calcium and maybe 80% of the phosphorus, they are locked up in the skeleton.
As that hydroxyapatite stuff.
That's the one. The mineral crystal that gives bone its hardness, its strength. But, and this is the key thing, their job goes way beyond just structure. Way beyond.
So it's not just about strong bones then. What else are they doing?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. Calcium, for instance, absolutely vital for muscle contraction. Every single movement.
Wow, okay.
And nerve function, sending signals, blood clotting too. Plus, it's a major player inside cells, like a messenger molecule. The body works incredibly hard to keep blood calcium levels super stable because of all this.
And phosphorus.
Phosphorus is central to energy. Think ATP, the cell's energy currency. Phosphorus is right at the core of that. It's also key for cell membranes, phospholipids, and the actual structure of DNA and RNA. Life's blueprint.
We tend to think of bones as just like scaffolding, static, but you're saying they're actually part of this minute-to-minute mineral management, a kind of living bank.
Exactly. A living bank is a great way to put it. And that really changes how you see the skeleton, doesn't it? It's not just strength, it's like life support.
How so?
It's a dynamic reservoir, constantly remodeling, breaking down, building up. And during times of really high demand, think about a sow producing milk. Lactation, that bone bank, isn't just a backup. It's often the main source.
Seriously?
Oh, yeah. Minerals get pulled directly from the bone to meet those urgent needs. It's a critical buffer to keep those blood levels steady for all those other vital functions.
That's quite an image. The skeleton almost sacrificing itself. But, okay, here's where it gets tricky for producers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Finding the exact amount. You'd think more is better, maybe.
But with these two, calcium and phosphorus, it's really all about that balance, that perfect ratio.
Not just the total amount.
No, far from it. We're talking about a pretty precise Goldilocks zone for the ratio. Get that wrong, and quantity alone won't fix it.
Okay, what's the ideal zone then?
Well, for growing pigs, you're typically looking at around 1.2 to 1, maybe 1.5 to 1. So a bit more calcium than phosphorus.
And for sows, especially lactating ones.
It's often a similar range, maybe slightly tighter, say 1.3 to 1 to 1.5 to 1. If you stray too far from that, you start running into trouble.
So what causes things to go wrong? What leads to deficiency or that imbalance?
Well, a few things. The most obvious one is just the diet itself, an imbalance in the feed. Not enough of one or the other, or simply the wrong can-to-P ratio.
So even if there's enough total mineral, the ratio being off is a problem.
Exactly. Like too much phosphorus relative to calcium can actually cause low blood calcium hypocalcemia. The ratio itself creates a functional deficiency. It's quite counterintuitive sometimes.
Okay, diet makes sense. But what about things inside the pig, how it processes the feed?
Right. That's another huge factor. Low bioavailability. This is a big one. A lot of the phosphorus in plant-based ingredients, think corn, soybean meal, it's bound up by something called phytic acid.
Phytic acid. Sounds bad.
It sort of acts like a cage, locking up the phosphorus. And not just phosphorus, it grabs onto other minerals too, like zinc, iron, even calcium, sometimes proteins. Pigs, being monogastric, don't naturally make the enzyme phytase needed to unlock that cage.
So the phosphorus is in the feed, but the pig can't actually use a lot of it?
Precisely. Just passes through undigested, unless we do something about it.
What else?
Well, rapid growth itself puts huge demands on the system, especially in young piglets trying to build bone quickly. And finally, you need adequate vitamin D.
Ah, the sunshine vitamin.
Yeah, though they get it from feed mostly. It's essential for actually absorbing both calcium and phosphorus from the gut. No vitamin D, or not enough, and even a perfect diet won't get those minerals into the body properly.
Wow, okay, so it feels like a lot can go wrong, from the
Yeah.
feed bag right down to the pig's gut. When that balance does break down, well, the results aren't pretty, are they? What do we actually see in the animals?
No, unfortunately not. The clinical signs can be quite stark, and they often vary depending on the pig's age. In piglets, the classic sign is rickets.
Rickets. Okay, what does that look like?
You get soft, poorly mineralized bones. So you see things like bowed legs, swollen joints. They walk with this kind of stilted, painful gait. Growth is poor, and they're really prone to fractures. It's quite devastating.
Really impacts them right from the start. What about older pigs, growing or finishing ones?
In growing and finishing pigs, you often see osteomalacia. That's a softening of bones that have already formed. So lameness is common. Fractures too, especially in the back legs. And their feed conversion suffers because their bodies are just struggling.
And for the breeding sows, I imagine the impact there is even more critical.
Oh, absolutely. It hits reproduction hard. You might see reduced fertility, smaller litters. They can also suffer from lameness and fractures, which is obviously terrible for a breeding animal expected to carry litters.
And you hear about milk fever in sows? That sounds really serious.
It is. Hypocalcemia, low blood calcium during lactation. It causes muscle tremors, weakness, and in bad cases, they just can't stand up. They become downer sows. It can definitely be fatal if not treated quickly.
Are there general signs too? Across different ages?
Yeah, sometimes you see things like a poor rough coat quality, maybe teeth grinding, which can indicate discomfort, and just a general weakness or listlessness.
So faced with these signs, how do vets or producers figure out, okay, this is likely a calcium phosphorus issue?
Diagnosis usually involves a few steps. Looking closely at the diet is crucial, analyzing the feed for KLT&P levels and checking that ratio.
Makes sense. Start with the input.
Then blood tests. Checking serum levels of calcium, phosphorus, and vitamin D can give you a snapshot of what's happening metabolically.
And looking at the bones themselves.
Yes, bone analysis. X-rays can show changes characteristic of rickets or osteomalacia. Postmortem examination is obviously very revealing. You can see the soft bones, fractures. And histopathology, looking at bone tissue under a microscope, confirms poor mineralization.
It's clear these are serious health problems, but connecting the dots, this isn't just an animal welfare issue, devastating as that is. It hits the farm's finances hard, Ida.
Oh, absolutely. The economic fallout is significant. You've got reduced growth rates, meaning pigs take longer to reach market weight. That translates directly to higher feed costs, which is usually the biggest expense on a farm.
Longer time, more feed.
Exactly. Then add higher vet bills for treating lameness or other issues, increased mortality. Sometimes animals just have to be culled because of severe skeletal problems.
And the sows.
The reproductive losses, smaller litters, lower conception rates, directly cut into the number of pigs produced. And in some cases, you might even get carcass condemnation at the slaughterhouse if there are visible bone issues. It's a real cascade of costs.
Okay, so given those high stakes, getting the nutrition right is clearly non-negotiable, and it seems like nutritional science has really evolved here. You mentioned moving away from just total minerals to standardized total tract digestible, or STTD. Can you break that down? What's the difference?
Yeah, this has been a really big shift. Basically, total minerals just tells you what's in the feed. STTD tells you what the pig actually absorbs and can use. After accounting for the minerals the pig's own body excretes into the gut and doesn't reabsorb what we call basal endogenous losses.
So it's about what's actually available to the animal.
Precisely. Think of it like this. Even if a pig doesn't eat, its body still loses a bit of calcium and phosphorus just through normal digestive processes. STTD corrects for that baseline loss. It gives nutritionists a much more accurate picture of what the pig is getting.
And why is that so important now?
Well, with modern pig genetics, these animals are incredibly productive. They grow faster, sows have larger litters, their nutritional needs are higher, and need to be met much more precisely. STTD allows for that precision. Less guesswork, better outcomes.
And you mentioned phytase earlier, the enzyme to break down that nutrient thief, phytic acid. That sounds like a game changer, too.
Oh, it's been revolutionary, absolutely. Remember, 60 to 80% of phosphorus in typical plant feeds is tied up in phytate, indigestible for the pig.
Right, locked away.
So exogenous phytase, these commercially made enzymes, usually from microbes, we add them to the feed. They go in, break down that phycate molecule in the pig's gut, and boom, they release the phosphorus, making it available for absorption.
So it unlocks the phosphorus already in the feed ingredients.
Exactly. It dramatically increases the phosphorus value of things like corn and soy. Suddenly, what was unavailable becomes available.
And you mentioned it does more than just release phosphorus, these extra phosphoric effects.
Yes, that's a huge bonus, because phytate also binds other things: calcium, zinc, other minerals, even amino acids, and energy breaking it down frees those up too.
So it improves the digestibility of other nutrients as well.
That's right, which means producers can often reduce the amount of supplemental inorganic phosphorus they need to add, which is expensive, so it cuts feed costs. And really importantly, less undigested phosphorus means less phosphorus excreted in the manure.
Better for the environment.
Definitely. It's a win for the pig's nutrition, a win for the producer's wallet, and a win for environmental sustainability.
That really is powerful. Are there things that affect how well phytase works? Does it always work perfectly?
Good question. No, several factors influence its efficacy. High levels of calcium in the diet can actually hinder it because calcium can form complexes with phytate that the enzyme struggles to break down. So that KP ratio we talked about is still critical, even with phytase.
Okay. Anything else?
High levels of zinc can also interfere somewhat. And the enzyme itself needs to be robust. It has to work in the acidic stomach, resist being broken down by the pig's own digestive enzymes like pepsin, and crucially, survive feed processing.
Like the heat from pelleting.
Exactly. Heat can destroy enzymes, so you need thermostable phytase products, or sometimes they're coated or applied after pelleting to protect them.
It sounds like nutrition is getting incredibly specific now. Does the ideal KP ratio change depending on what you want the pig to do?
Very much so.
Yeah.
It's become goal-oriented. For instance, a pig heading for market profit. The main goal is fast, efficient growth. So you might use an STTD KP ratio around, say, 1.16 to 1 up to 1.43 to 1.
But for a gilt, a young female meant for breeding.
Right. For replacement gilt, longevity is key. You want her to build really strong bones to support multiple pregnancies. So you might target a higher ratio, maybe 1.47 to 1, even up to 1.81 to 1, to really maximize bone mineralization. It's tailored nutrition.
Let's circle back to that lactating sow. How does all this fit with her physiology, especially those hormones driving milk production?
The lactating sow is such a prime example of this whole system under pressure. Her body's hormonal controls involving things like parathyroid hormone, vitamin D metabolites, they will prioritize keeping blood calcium stable, almost above all else.
Even at the expense of her bones.
Absolutely. If her diet isn't supplying enough calcium and phosphorus to meet the massive demand for milk synthesis, her body will pull those minerals from her skeleton aggressively.
Which explains why Downer-Sow syndrome happens.
Exactly. It's usually not an acute, sudden problem. It's often the end result of a chronic imbalance where her body's been slowly demineralizing her bones over time to fuel milk production. She's literally sacrificed her skeleton for her litter. It's also fascinating how digestibility changes gestating sows, absorb calcium less efficiently, maybe as a protective measure, then ramp up absorption massively as lactation nears.
It really underscores how nutrition isn't just feeding. It's this incredibly sophisticated science touching genetics, physiology, sustainability. But okay, we've talked a lot about not enough or the wrong balance. What about too much? Is there a dark side? Can you overdo calcium or phosphorus?
That's a really important point. Yes, too much can definitely be detrimental, sometimes indirectly. Take calcium toxicity, hypercalcemia. Pigs are actually fairly tolerant of high calcium itself.
Oh, so what's the problem then?
The main issue with excess calcium isn't usually direct toxicity. It's that it interferes strongly with phosphorus absorption. Too much calcium essentially creates a functional phosphorus deficiency.
So even if there's enough phosphorus in the diet, the high calcium stops the pig from absorbing it.
Precisely. It ties it up in the gut. This leads to classic signs of phosphorus deficiency, like reduced feed intake and poor growth. High calcium can also mess with zinc absorption, potentially causing a skin condition called parakeratosis.
In acute overdoses.
Very high. Acute overdoses might cause things like drowsiness, constipation, increased thirst, and chronic excess could lead to soft tissue calcification minerals depositing where they shouldn't.
Okay, what about too much phosphorus? Hyperphosphatemia.
That's actually quite rare in practice. Why? Because phosphorus supplements are expensive, so producers usually avoid overformulating it just from a cost perspective.
So the main concern isn't the pig's health, usually.
Often, the primary concern with excess phosphorus formulation is environmental, too much pee ending up in the manure and potentially polluting waterways. But if acute toxicity did happen,
What would that look like?
it could cause a sudden sharp drop in blood calcium because the excess phosphorus rapidly binds with calcium. This can lead to severe signs, muscle spasms, tetany, seizures, even heart problems. Chronic excess phosphorus is linked to conditions like fibrous osteodystrophy, where bones, especially facial bones, become soft and swollen, and also soft tissue calcification. So, while rare, it's definitely not benign.
Okay, let's try and pull this all together. We've really deep dived today into calcium and phosphorus. Absolutely essential. We saw that not just for bones, but for, well, everything metabolically.
Yeah, muscle, nerves, energy, DNA, the list goes on.
And the critical thing isn't just how much, but that precise ratio between them. Get it wrong, and you see serious problems: rickets in piglets, lameness, poor reproduction, even fatal Downer-Sow syndrome.
And we saw how modern nutrition has tackled this, moving to digestible values like STTD and the huge impact of phytase enzymes in unlocking nutrients and reducing waste.
Absolutely revolutionary stuff. But there's still more to learn, right?
Oh, for sure. Especially with how fast pig genetics are advancing, we need even more precise requirements, particularly for these hyperprolific SEOs that are pushing biological limits. We need better models, better ways to account for ingredient variation, maybe even faster on-farm tools to monitor mineral status. Research definitely isn't standing still.
It really is amazing, isn't it? The sheer level of precision involved in optimizing something seemingly simple like mineral nutrition. It makes you think. If this level of scientific insight is needed for animal health and farm sustainability, what does that tell us about understanding intricate biological systems everywhere, even, in ourselves? Definitely something to mull over.
It certainly is. A lot to consider.
Well, that's all the time we have for this deep dive. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll catch you next time with another topic.